What is going on, Diesel Nation? We're excited to have you guys with us today on the Diesel Podcast. Today's episode, we had posted up on Instagram, and we wanted to know what you guys are working on. And we had a gentleman that responded to us, follows us on Instagram and also the podcast. He's a Cummins fan, so I wanted to chat with him today and see how he got into the brand. He's got a couple of them, a 12-valve and a 6.7, and just see what his plans are, what he's done so far, and what he's looking to do in the future. So it's going to be a great time to chat with him. Before we get to it, though, we want to encourage you guys, if you're not on our Discord, you're going to find a link. You're going to see it on the screen, and then also one down below if you're watching on YouTube. Make sure and click on over there. We're almost at 500 subscribers on there. It's really cool to see what you guys are working on, the questions that you guys have, the suggestions for episodes and guests. You guys definitely keep me on my toes over there, so I want to see you signed up. Post up your truck. Let's see what you're working on, what your plans are for it. And also, if you're looking to support the podcast even more, we do have a Patreon link down below, and the Patreon goes a tremendous way in being able to help us grow, continue to do the things that we have planned to bring you the best content, the best stories, the best information, so that you're more knowledgeable about your truck and you can make informed buying decisions. All right, let's get to today's podcast with Elgin and learning more about his 6.7 Cummins and also his 12-valve. Elgin, welcome to the Diesel Podcast. I first want to thank you for listening to the podcast and sending us a message on Instagram. I love talking about trucks, love talking about 6.7s and 5.9s. You got both of them. So I'm going to be looking forward to learning more about yourself, your passion for Cummins trucks, and what your plans are for both of them.
All right, thank you for having me.
I wasn't sure which one to start with, whether the 12-valve or the 6.7, but since my first diesel was a 6.7 Cummins, I figured we'd start with that one. Tell me a little bit about that truck, how you came across it, what drew you to it, why you chose that particular one.
All right, so the way that I came across it was I was looking for diesel in general, but one that caught my eye was a Duramax, but the bank wouldn't give me the money for it. Because of how old it was, because they have a 20-year policy.
Oh, gotcha.
They said it'd be easier to buy a vehicle off of a dealer lot. So I was driving past the Toyota dealership, and there was a used Cummins on it. And I mentioned to my parents about it, and we went and looked at it. And I was 17 at the time. And they said they never had to wait for someone to buy a vehicle from them. So I came across the Cummins, looked at it. I didn't even test drove it, and I bought it.
So. Was that particular year range? Was it one that you had your eye on, that you thought about? Hey, if I can't get this Duramax, I definitely want to get into this, 2016 or that kind of year range of 6.7.
No, actually, because I personally, for a while, I did not like the body style of the 4th gen Cummins. I was like a 2nd gen, 1st gen, and I didn't like the 3rd gens and 4th gens. But
it's kind of funny how they grow on you, the different generations when they come out. I'm the same way. I'll see the new one. I'm like, I don't really like that, and then I give it 6 months or a year, and then it's like my favorite one.
Yeah, I wouldn't change it for a 3rd gen or 2nd gen now.
Well, the interiors and just the quality of the materials is so much better than they used to be. Like when I had my 3rd gen, which was the first diesel I ever had, I thought it was the greatest thing. And then the 2010s came out, and I'm like, the dash, the seats, the interiors are so nice. It totally grew on me.
It's definitely even the touchscreen that's in it, like the 8-inch that's nice.
Now, with the truck, when you were thinking about getting a diesel, was it because you use it to haul and tow, or did you just want the torque and the performance capability that diesel trucks have?
The performance aspect, because I was doing a bunch of research on how much horsepower you can make out of a diesel versus a gas engine, where people I know were spending so much on their gas engines to get such a low number, to where you throw a tuner on a diesel and make 10 times that.
That was the exact thing that drew me into them as well, because I was in the gas trucks first, and I'd look and see, kind of what I could do to them. And then I had a friend that got a diesel, and I'm like, we got 140 or 150, 160 horsepower off this $600, box tuner. It's just totally changed my way of thinking about it, that it drew me in. Now with the 6.7 and thinking about the performance side of it, have you always had a goal of a particular power number in mind with it and kind of a build, or has that progressed as as years have gone by and you've owned this truck?
Yeah, so I didn't really have an original power number, but as I started adding parts to it, I wanted to hit 1,000. So I'm not there yet, but I'm still like going through and figuring out what I want to do parts wise and turbos. And
There's so many choices. It's almost overwhelming, with the air and the fuel and the transmission and so many things that are out there. But when you're doing that research and looking for builds, where do you look for information, or where are places that you maybe check out what other people are doing, whether it's YouTube or Instagram or other places?
so sometimes I will, well, mostly through YouTube, because then I can see them on the video perform properly, where like you can't really see through a picture on Instagram how it's going to perform.
Yeah.
If you're going to like maybe the way it sounds
Well,
properly.
I know from chatting with you beforehand, you're definitely lucky because you're in Canada and there's so much more you can do to your truck there than we
Yeah.
can do it than we can do in the States with them. So, what kind of parts list, what kind of build have you put together so far for it?
So far for my 2016, I have the fully deleted. I'm still need to get block off plates for the EGR, but the plunger still works as far as I know. As even though it's deleted, it still works for the circulating the smoke through the engine and stuff like that. But it's got a full 4-inch straight pipe, cold air intake right now. It's got the Whirly Fab coolant pipe, and then it's waiting on this to get warm here, as it's always cold here because I'm not laying in the snow putting a turbo in. So it's got a 64 Stealth 64 waiting to put in with a Steed Speed manifold and some Fleece manifold studs.
I was just chatting recently with Steed Speed, and I've always been a fan of their manifolds. Like, they're works of art, and it's almost a shame that you have to put the hood down, and you can't just everybody can just see it because they're so awesome, and it's really cool, to what you're able to do there and the access that you have to parts. The sky's really the limit with that build, and there's so much there. If you want to make 1,000, if you want to make more, if you want to grow into that 1,000 horsepower, there's a lot of different options you have out there for air and fuel and accessories and transmission and all that sort of stuff. So I imagine it's going to be pretty. I don't want to say daunting, but it's almost overwhelming. All the access to things and builds that that you'll be able to do with your 6.7.
Yeah, because actually up here the diesel scene isn't big like it is down in the States, which is unfortunate. So like you'll come across like a truck here and there, and then like you're like have all these like you have access to shipping tuners that can delete your truck, but no one wants to do them here.
Yeah, it's been a whole. I remember early on with the 6.7s, it was really incredible to see what people were doing with them, and then here with emissions and the EPA and all that kind of stuff, it's really drastically changed it with you're kind of refocusing it on how much power can we make with all these components still on the truck, and looking for carb numbers, or testing numbers for it and things like that. And so when I think about what could you do to a 6.7 without any restrictions, somewhere else where it's, maybe not an issue. It's like you have the displacement, the size of turbos you can run, are really awesome. There's tons of transmission choices. And I was going to ask you about that. So do you have it's an automatic that's in the truck?
Yep.
Now, when it comes to the transmission, have you thought about, the kind of setup that you want to run, or maybe which company's kind of has your eye with one of their built 68 RVs?
Yes, I was Firepunk has drawn me to their Comp 2 kit for my truck.
Cool.
So I was watching a video on some Comp 2 that was in a 3rd gen, lasted 8 years of abuse.
That's been another really cool thing too, is with transmissions and I think YouTube helps a lot, and other media outlets, is just how much transmission technology is there versus what it used to be. And being able to see, I think Ultimate Callout Challenge really helped a lot with kind of pushing um, what these transmissions can hold, whether it's a 4-speed or 68 RFE, which I think RevMax ran one at UCC for a bit in their truck. It's just I feel more confident as like a diesel truck owner or enthusiast of being able to get a transmission that can handle that abuse now versus maybe what it was 10 years ago or 15 years ago.
Yeah, because I've already had the solenoids replaced in mine, which I think I'm not a big knowledge of transmissions, but I don't really know what breaks on mine a whole lot. I haven't done a whole lot of research. It's been handling the Hot Tune 5 for a while, so
all's good then for now. I know once you do the turbo and injectors and all that stuff, you'll definitely get into that transmission build pretty quick. Now with putting this build together, is there a particular time, say at the racetrack or a dyno number, that you ultimately want to put down, or is it just the fun of having it, just the fun of being able to drive it every day?
it's just the fun of so far it's just been the fun of driving it every day, hearing the exhaust, and then with the cold air intake and the exhaust, I can hear the turbo spool a bit more, the stock turbo. So I like I'm not stomping on it, but just able to hear that turbo whistle for that brief period of time has really got me hooked on that.
Yeah, that'll definitely be one of the things. I don't know. I can't decide whether I like the turbo whistle more or the sound of the exhaust. They both have their benefits. I don't know. I would probably choose the turbo.
Yeah.
Now now I also noticed, and we were chatting a little bit beforehand about a 12 valve that you had, and I mentioned it on the podcast before that has always been a truck that would be probably my holy grail. Not because I want to make a ton of power with it. I just love the idea of a mechanical second gen. It started the whole diesel performance, industry, I think. And so I wanted to ask you about that truck. How'd you find it? And were you specifically looking for, that exact truck, or was it something you just came across and hey, I got to have this truck?
I just came across it. I was actually looking at it was an 01 dually that had never seen a winter, very clean, no rust, especially up here, no rust. And I contacted the guy, set a time to go see it, and then something came up where I had to change it to the following day. And he's like, I don't want to sell anymore. So then I was like, okay, well, I'll look for a 2500, but it has to be manual. And I'm not taking anything but a manual, and I was able to come across this truck.
Did you find it local to you, or did you have to look outside your area a bit?
2.5 hours away, which wasn't not terrible. You can just hop on the highway and you're there. But
did it have all the things you were looking for?
Yes. So I didn't want to deal with any suspension components, so I had a lift kit on it. It's got a 7.5-inch lift, and it's got 37s on it already, so I don't have to spend money on tires.
It's all ready to go.
Yeah, pretty much. Because I enjoyed it for the first year, and then before I started throwing stuff on it. What
kind of upgrades have you done to it since you had it?
So since I've been focusing on my 16, not a whole lot, just 5-inch MBRP exhaust and a Banks power intake. Because you wouldn't like to see the intake that was on it when I got it.
Now, is this one? Are you going to build this one for a particular kind of power range, do compounds and upgrade the pump and injectors, or is this one going to have kind of a different build to it?
So this one is mainly because I bought it with the lift kit to focus on the engine. So my goal is, I don't know. I've heard different things where 12 valves don't make a lot of power. Still researching, but 600-ish, I think, is a reasonable for a mechanical, I think. I don't know how far people have gotten with horsepower ratings for 12 valves.
They're so cool because they don't come with a lot of power, especially by today's standards, but the sky is really the limit on them. And
Yes.
and it's they're just really robust motors, and you just get some more fuel, more air, and 600's totally doable. Probably for not a whole lot of money either.
Yeah.
And then if you ever wanted to take it farther, there's tons of options. But yeah, I think you'd be happy with 600 horse on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm looking to do a twin turbo kit or compound kit on it. Just like I've got the room and I don't really have to remove anything to throw 2 turbos under there.
Yeah, it's real. There's so much space there, especially on the older ones. And
yeah,
there's so many compound turbo kits and injectors. We've had Lenny Reed from Dynomite Diesel Products on the podcast before, and he had just bought one. Maybe it was last year. And he was doing different injectors and pump upgrades to it, and just kind of setting it up for that, ultimate kind of daily driver. Make
yeah,
good power, but not be, like a race truck or something that's smoky. And so companies like that, a lot of other ones have have products and kind of power recipes out there, for you. Is the clutch in it stock, or is that something you're looking at upgrading in the future?
it's stock, and I plan on upgrading it to a dual clutch system eventually.
Yeah, those have come a long way as well with just the drivability of them. I've chatted with Valair before about some of their dual disc options, and they went through, hey, this is going to be the clutch feel to it, and the power rating for it, and all those things. It's just, I love that whole platform. I know they don't have the creature comforts of like your 2016 and stuff,
Yeah.
but there's just something so cool about, I don't know, you just feel like more connected to the truck. It's just, I'm not a big manual guy, but I don't know. I think I would probably get a manual in a second gen just for the feel. Just, I don't know, something about changing gears, going down the highway. It's cool.
I will say that after driving it, I'm not a manual truck guy because it's always a bit temperamental sometimes because of the issues that they have.
Well, I think like stop and go traffic or being in a city, I don't think it'd be too fun, but just, out there on the highway or just, on country roads and things like that, it'd definitely be cool.
I share fun on country roads with that.
Now, so you got two Cummins trucks. Did you just kind of fall into being a Cummins owner or Cummins enthusiast? Did it just kind of happen, or was it something where you always thought, hey, this is, it's one of the most popular engines to modify? And I think, when I was just learning about diesel trucks, it was always like everyone always pushed me to those. They always said that's the one you need to get, and I didn't know a lot of Duramax guys or didn't know a lot of Power Stroke guys at that time. But I'm always curious, how we get into a particular brand or buy a couple trucks that are, a Cummins or Duramax or Power Stroke.
Yeah, so I would definitely say that when I was originally looking for a vehicle, my first vehicle, I was looking towards Cummins because they're just around here, they're kind of dime a dozen cheap. Well, before COVID, anyways. But like I didn't know anyone that had Duramaxes. I knew people with Power Strokes and Cummins, and I just feel like what I wanted to do, it was more accessible for Cummins. Just it was kind of like a no-brainer because I could have stuck with trying to get a Duramax, but
yeah, that's one of the things I think that that really drew me in as well. We talked about it a little bit beforehand, just the kind of power you can make with, just doing some upgrades versus gas. And for the longest time, it's been that way with Cummins engines as well. You didn't have to do a built engine right away. You probably have to do the transmission, regardless of the year or generation it is. But the engines are stout. There's so many choices for turbos, and there's so many people that are developing parts for them that you've got tons of injectors to pick from, and injection pumps, and like under 12 valve, delivery valves, and fuel lines, and governor spring kits, and just all the things that are there. There's so many choices.
Yeah, it's definitely, like when I started looking into modifying, I was like, oh God, what do I pick?
Yeah, I always try to ask when we have somebody on from a company is like, how do we decide which parts we get, because it is so overwhelming, and you build for 450 horse, 600, 650, 800, 1000, 1500, 2000. Do I do this dual disc clutch, this transmission? What billet shafts do I need? What size injector should I go with? Do I need, like a stroker CP3 or dual CP3 kit? It's just so overwhelming for us with all the technology. So I always like to, ask these guys, hey, what's your favorite setup, or what worked really well for you, so that when you guys are out there building your trucks, and maybe it helps kind of guide you guys in a direction to say, I should look at, this single turbo kit or this compound kit, or, this kind of fuel setup. And with, heading into, I know we're at the start of 2022, but do you think is your goal this year with that 6.7 to kind of get it where you want and start on the 12 valve towards the end of the year, or what's kind of the plan with both trucks?
So the plan for the 6.7 is just put the turbo on in the spring and enjoy it for until next year, until I want to kind of hunker down and probably work on the 12 valve a bit more, because I do it sprays oil like every classic 12 valve does. So I want to kind of eliminate the oil leak before I start throwing on more parts that will probably increase the oil flow out of that wherever it's coming from. I don't know. I haven't really looked too much into it, but it's just the 12 valve needs some TLC for sure since I've owned it. So
cool.
Definitely just enjoy the turbo, move on to the 12 valve. Just enjoy it for what it is.
You had mentioned a little bit before we started the podcast about maybe one day doing a YouTube channel, and I think that's so cool. I love to see it's not necessarily the huge channels that I watch or subscribe to. I like to see just fellow enthusiasts working on stuff and learning with them. Because there's a lot of things I don't know. There's tons of things I don't know, but I can watch, somebody put the turbo kit on, or somebody do this, or they're solving a problem with, with doing a YouTube channel. Have you thought much about it, or is it still early in the, kind of the process of saying, hey, I'd like to document, this 6.7 build, or this 12 valve build, or just my journey through building these trucks?
Actually, ever since I started modifying the truck, I've thought about it. So for a good 3 years, but then like I don't know whole lot. Like, how would I get the angles right because I don't want to just like throw on a montage of me putting a part on it. I'd rather show people what I've encountered and how to fix it.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing, is whenever I try to do something and I don't know how to do it, and I look at YouTube and I watch one video and it's like, here's the part and now it's on, and I'm like, I ran into 5 or 6 stumbling blocks along the way. I want to see that stuff. Like, I need to know how to do that. So I think there's a lot of value, in that is learning, whatever it might be that we would all run into installing this part or doing something, we want to see that. So I think people would really enjoy that kind of process. I did an episode late last year with a guy who, was talking just exactly about that. He built this 12 valve, and he was just like, I don't know everything, and I learn along the way, and that's what I like to show people, is just like, hey, this is where I stumbled, this is where I didn't know what to do, this is who helped me, and I want to share that knowledge. So I think if you do that, it'd definitely be successful, and people would enjoy seeing that. We want to learn and be able to follow along, and then we get attached to the channel, attached to the build and what somebody's talking about. So if you do start that, definitely let us know, and we'll give you a shout out to your channel, and definitely like to see these builds come together, combining 2 iconic generations of the Ram Cummins turbo diesel. So definitely be fun to watch, and I definitely appreciate your time and reaching out to us, on our Instagram story to talk about trucks. This is what I love to do. These are some of my favorite episodes, just talking about a 6.7 or 12 valve or VP44, an LBZ, or a 6-liter or 6.4, whatever it might be. That's it's really the core of the podcast. So we appreciate you listening and reaching out to us.
And it's nice talking to someone that actually kind of knows what they're talking about besides someone around where I live.
I don't know that much. Every podcast that we do, it's like I learn along with with everyone else. I know a little bit about stuff, but just there's so much information, and that's what I crave and what I love about doing podcasts is just trying to absorb and learn more and try to help people. So connect somebody to a company or somebody else, maybe a previous guest that did a build, and being able to connect people. So that's something that's definitely fun. For anyone that is listening and they're like, hey, I'm going to be doing a 6.7 build, or I'm doing a 12 valve. I want to be able to follow his YouTube one day when he does it. Where can people find you? On Instagram, check out truck pictures, see what you're doing this year, heading into next year, and building these 2 trucks.
Yep. So my Instagram is Elgin _ 6.7.
Cool. We'll make sure.
Pardon me?
We'll make sure and tag you as well when we put the podcast out, so people can just click over and check out what you're doing. But like I said, I appreciate your time reaching out to us, and keep us updated on the build. Let us know if you have any questions, if there's any help we can provide connecting you to people or previous guests we've had or anything like that. We'd be more than happy to help you, and I want to see you get both your trucks to the power level and the driving experience that you want.
Yep, thank you.
Don't forget, Diesel fans, make sure and head on over to our Discord. You're going to find a link down below if you're watching on YouTube, or if you go to our Instagram page, you'll find a link right there. It's completely free to join. It's an awesome place. If you're a podcast fan, you're a Cummins Duramax Power Stroke owner, and you want to just chat about your truck, things you're working on, and want to get tips, ask questions, a lot of really helpful people over there. Also want to give a shout out to a couple of our Patreon supporters, Texas Diesel Supply, Wrights Diesel Services, Kaleb, and all of our Patreons over there. We really appreciate your support, the encouragement that you guys give us, and helping us continue to grow and cover diesel into 2022. Until next time, keep the shiny side up.